Hey everyone, welcome back to Talking Sense. I'm Ben. So today we're going to have a look at a small perfumer who actually sent me some perfumes to review, which I thought was a bit bold of them, to be honest. Like, they've either not watched my channel or they've got balls. Because, as you know, I don't tend to mince my words with my fragrance reviews very much. And just because these guys sent me these fragrances does not mean I'm going to sugarcoat my opinion. So yeah, I figure I should be transparent about where I got these from. But you know, hopefully you'll trust me enough to know that it doesn't bother me a jot where these came from. So yeah, who are they? Bon Parfumeur, and today we're going to be looking at three of their perfumes: 501, 603, and 902. So let's have a look. So Bon Parfumeur contacted me on Instagram, weirdly, and I'd actually heard of them before because I seen them in Bloom in London, and I actually was really into one of them. I think it was 901, which is like a saffron oud mix. There's a few reviews of it on YouTube, and I liked it. I thought it was good, and I meant to buy it, but I never did. Never did get round to it, sort of thing. And they kind of stayed there or thereabouts. It went on my wish list of fragrances to buy. So when they contacted me, I was like, oh, how I actually know you guys. So who are they? They're a small French company. They hire outside perfumers. So they're not like they don't have like an in-house perfume or anything. And the perfumers that they hire, they're generally like quite big guys. But they have this like niche kind of brand. So it's in the same vein as like zoologists, where you've got like a head of the company that kind of then brings in perfumers to kind of carry out their vision or whatever. And yeah, they're quite a small company. They've got quite a few fragrances though, and each one is numbered like 103, 501, 603, 902, for example. And then they've got a Privé line as well. I've got two of the normal ones and one of the Privé lines to talk about today. And probably worth noting, like at the start, is that they're actually like reasonably priced. So for 30ml bottles, I think they cost about £35. It might even be euros. So they're pretty cheap. 100ml can go up to like, you know, 100 quid. So they can sort of approach about £1 a mil, but that's still pretty cheap really for like, you know, like a niche perfume, if you like. Whether or not, you know, niche is pretty broad. So whether or not you kind of feel like they're off that kind of high-end niche vibe, we'll get to that. And the last bit of like a kind of introduction and the hard sell, I guess you could say, is they gave me a discount code. So if you want to use this discount code, you get 10% off their website, which, you know, you can't shake a stick at that really, right? So let's go. First one, we're going to go from, so I got 501, 902 and 603, and their perfumes are like, they give you a number and they give you like the three main notes that they were kind of gunning for to kind of get across. Most of these perfumes have got more notes than those three main notes, but they kind of have three main notes, which I guess is the kind of theme of that perfume. So I got 501, which is praline, réglisse, and patchouli. And it says it's a gourmand. I got 603, which is cuir or leather, encens, and tonka, so leather, incense, and tonka. And it says it's bois, which is a wood, or boisé, so it's a wood. And then I got 902, which is Armagnac, Tabac Blonde, Cannelle, and it just says Special. So yeah, we'll have a look. The 603 is part of their Le Privé line. I think this is about £10 more expensive than these. I think these go for like €45. So they're a bit more expensive. We'll do them in order, I think, from my least favourite to my most favourite. Let's do that. So to kick things off, 501. Now this one is, when I picked it up, because basically they said to me, you can pick like a few perfumes, you know, pick what ones you like. So I picked ones that I thought would go with this channel and that that people who watch this channel would be interested in. And this one being like, praline, réglisse and patchouli. I thought, which is licorice, by the way, I think, réglisse. I thought praline, licorice, patchouli, sort of a gourmandy, woody thing. That'd probably go with this channel. So I picked that one. Boy, was I wrong. I have to say, straight off the bat, I'm going to spray this one. I'll spray the other two on like one wrist each, and we'll do it on skin, because I think that's better. I think all of these perfumes are better on skin than they are paper. But we'll do this one on paper. I don't like this. I'll be straight. Let's spray it and I'll talk about it. It's straight off the bat, I'll tell you, it's massively feminine. And now I generally, I don't mind wearing feminine perfumes. This comes from a guy who's where I've worn like Opium. I'm a big fan of Issey Miyake Parfum. I'm a big fan of Vivienne Westwood Boudoir, things like that. And I wear those fragrances routinely. So I'm not like too worried about gender in fragrance. But for me, this is hyper feminine. Like, even this is too feminine for me, and say I wear like Opium or Black Opium rather, and say like Boudoir and stuff like that. But to me, this is like, whoa, hyper feminine, and it's kind of a surprise because they're like niche fragrances, right? But and generally you tend to think that niche sort of aims for like a broad center ground, and that they don't really go like too feminine or too masculine. This to me feels very designery in that way where it's unabashed with its femininity. A lot of designers are set that they don't worry about that center ground too much. If they want to be feminine, they'll just be straight feminine. If they want to be masculine, they'll be straight masculine because their markets are big enough, right? They can kind of afford that because if no one buys it, they'll just bargain bin it for a year and that'll be that. I was quite surprised, like, for a niche fragrance, this is that feminine, but this is massively feminine. So when you spray it, the actual notes for this on Fragrantica, by the way, are more. So the notes for it on Fragrantica are like hazelnut, yuzu, bergamot, praline, licorice, iris, caramel, cashmere wood, patchouli, amber, and musk. I would say that's fairly actually like accurate, apart from the licorice. I don't really get any licorice in this at all. I get hazelnut, pralines, and like caramel, things like that. Very, very gourmandy. But at the same time, it's not like foodie sweet in a way. Like, that sounds ridiculous because I just say it's very gourmandy, but it is. It feels gourmandy, but the sweetness in it that gives it that sort of uber, sort of feminine edge. And the thing I really hate about this is it's so like sugar and like glassy, sugary vibe. Now it is nice on other people. I've smelt this on other people and it was fine. I didn't mind it at all. I wouldn't sort of rush out to kind of buy it or say to them like, "Cool, what's that fragrance you're wearing?" But it was pleasant. So I'm aware that large part of this like review for this one is just the fact that it's not my cup of tea, because I smelled it on other people and it was fine. But for me personally, oh no, I could not wear this. It's just ginormously feminine, super uber like sugary sweet, and it doesn't really have, in my opinion, it doesn't really have, like, I'm okay with like caramels, pralines, vanillas, things like that, I'm okay with like feminine gourmands even, but they need to have something a bit more to them, and this doesn't have that. It doesn't have that like sort of niche gourmands where they kind of tend to mix them with like precious woods or ambers and things like that. This doesn't really have that. It just feels a bit one-dimensional, like glassy, sugary, sweet, a bit kind of hyper feminine, and that's about it. I think it smells modern. I think it smells like the musk in it is nice, and I think it's not like a kind of old school feminine sort of perfumey, floral thing. It's a very modern smelling fragrance. Like I say, I think if you like the sound of those notes, it's probably worth giving it a go if you're into like feminine fragrances or you are female. You might like it, but me personally, I can't see me wearing this ever, and I can't see any other guy wearing this ever. It like I say, like, and that's coming from someone who largely thinks that gender doesn't really exist in perfume, but these are like the extreme ends of the spectrum, right? And this is on that extreme end. Like I say, I don't hate it as a perfume. On other people, I think it would be okay, but to me, it's a little bit one-dimensional. It's a little bit flat, and it doesn't have the richness that you want from a gourmand, in my opinion, from like a niche gourmand at least. That said, it is only like 35 quid, so you know, maybe that's why, but that doesn't really hold true for the others, so I don't know. I just feel like this one's a little bit one-dimensional. It's not unpleasant. Don't mind smelling it at all. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's a scrubber, it's for the bin. Although if I sprayed this on my skin, I would scrub it. But it's not like a scrubber in that sense. And it's not like destined for the bin and, you know, absolutely grotesque or anything like that. It's just not for me. Whether it would be for you, I doubt it, honestly. Like, I think if you're into this channel and the stuff that I put on this channel, I don't think you would find much joy in this. Really. I think it's just a bit flat and a bit sort of, I don't mean to say designery in that derogatory sense or that kind of snobbish niche fragrance sense. I mean designery in that way that it's, like I say, like uber feminine and very like narrow field, you know, of kind of like its catchment area, its demographic is quite narrow. So, you know, I just feel like that doesn't really cut with the vibe of the majority of stuff I put on this channel. So yeah, I can't see a lot of you being too excited about this one, to be honest. So let's move on. On the plus side, the other two are much better. So let's go 902 next. So this one is Armagnac, Tobacco Blonde and Cannelle. And the notes on the Fragrantica for this are cognac, orange, ginger, basil, cinnamon, cloves, plum, geranium, tobacco, vanilla, patchouli and labdanum. So you can, again, you can guess why I picked that one for this channel, right? That's it definitely sort of fits in by the sounds of it. Now I like this. I have to admit, I do like this one. I have had mixed opinions on it though, so we'll talk about that. I'll tell you what it smells like. So I'll give it a couple sprays. So the thing I really like about this is it's quite, I do like this. It's got this boozy vibe when you spray it. Very boozy, like that cognac is like straight in your face. Like it's not like a heavy, dense booziness, but it definitely smells like alcoholic cognac. Like if the police pulled you over wearing this, like straight away from the, you know, like from the spray, they'd arrest you immediately. It smells massively boozy. It's, you know, no beating around the bush. I also get an absolute ton of plum. I get a ton of like some I guess what could be the ginger, because it's like this spiciness. I also get a lot of like cloves. Cloves, massive. For me, I don't know if, so what were the three that it said? Armagnac, Tobacco Blonde, which is obviously like blonde tobacco or light tobacco. I don't know what Cannelle is. Don't know if that's cloves, because I would say cloves are the biggest, one of the biggest notes in this. You have that cognac, you have these cloves, and then sort of, yeah, like a plum ginger sort of vibe. I like it a lot. The tobacco is really interesting in this. I think it's quite photorealistic tobacco, but it's a very light tobacco. So it says Tobacco Blonde, fully agree. It, like, as someone who smoked rollies, like rolling tobacco for years, this is, if you're British and you know the sort of tobaccos, This is more along the lines of Cutter's Choice and things like that than like Golden Virginia. It's got that kind of lightness to it, that kind of slightly, yeah, like easier going, like not quite so dense or thick. If you don't smoke or you never smoked and you're not from the UK, that's not going to make a lot of sense. Except from, I'll just say, yeah, it's like a slightly sweeter, slightly lighter smelling sort of tobacco rather than that kind of thick, dark, caramelly kind of tobacco. This is much more a lighter thing. Now, I like this. Having said that, my friend told me it smelled like floor cleaner. And I think it's the orange in the top, which I actually like that, because I think with that cognac, you get this cognac vibe. For me, is like the main thing, but it is underscored by this like orange note, which is quite unusual. I feel like. You know, obviously there's plenty of fragrances which have done orange as a top note, but generally speaking, like when you get those like oranges and lemons, there is always that risk that it's going to smell a bit floor cleanery, right? Unless it's done really, really well. Unless you're someone like Acqua di Parma who really nails those kind of lemon smells. You know, there's always that risk, and I've done it in Falling into the Sea by Imaginary Authors. I like that fragrance, but at first it's that lemon smell just smells like floor cleaner. And I suppose that's probably what she was getting at here. And she said, "Yeah, I think that it just smells like floor cleaner to me. I don't like it." I was quite surprised because I do like this. I can see what they were getting at, but I can forgive it for it. I don't think it's prominent enough for me to really worry too much about it. And it does die back, and then you get much more the tobacco, the vanilla, this kind of ambery vibe, and the plum and the cognac sort of take over as like the main things. So for me, I don't mind it if it's got like a 10-minute opening where someone thinks, that smells a bit floor cleanery, because no one's probably going to smell that apart from myself anyway. But I personally don't see it anyway. Like I can see someone's point if they were to say it smells like floor cleaner, but for me, I'm okay with it. I don't think it smells that base. I think it smells a bit. I think actually it's quite a nice pairing with the cognac. I like the orange and the cognac. I think it gives it a bit of a like sort of Christmassy vibe as well. I suppose that's maybe the cloves and the cinnamon in there, kind of mixing with that Armagnac. It gives it a bit of a Christmassy vibe, and with the orange in there as well. You get a sort of almost like a sort of mulled wine, or like a fruit wine, sort of spiced fruit wine or something. So I really like it. I think it's really nice. I think it's really good for like cooler weather. I think especially like, so it does feel very like festive and a bit Christmassy. And I rate it. I think it's all right. Would I buy it? Do you know what? Probably for 35 quid, yeah. I don't think I would buy it much more than that. If it was like 45, 50 quid, probably not. But for 35 quid, yeah, I'd buy this. I like it. I do like it. But I'll say that with a caveat in that I like the cognac. So if you don't like boozy notes, probably again, like give this a miss. And I also like the plum, and I do like plum fragrances. So that's probably why I would buy it. For me, I feel like there's enough with the cognac and the plum to interest me. But if you're not so into those two notes, like sort of boozy sort of fruits and cognacs and that kind of plum, if you're not too into that, I would say maybe steer clear. You know, because there's not a lot else here for you apart from those. One thing I will say about this, and it is a shame, it doesn't last super long time on me. It lasts long enough. It lasts like 4 or 5 hours, which is fine. But it's not beast mode. It's quite a light one. So the tobacco on this, I do also like the tobacco in this. So yeah, I would buy it for 35 quid. I'd buy this absolutely. And I'm not. So I've worn it a fair bit, you know. In fact, I got all these fragrances about 3 weeks ago, and I've been wearing them for at least like a week each, you know, since. Or 501, less so. I wore that like 2 days and then was like, that's enough of that shit. But these other two I've worn a fair bit, and I do like them. Yeah, so decent. I like it. I think it's worth checking out. It's worth getting a sample of at least, if you're into kind of boozy plums, things like that. Probably what I'll say is if you're expecting like rich, deep niche, it's not that. It hasn't quite got that sort of thick depth that you might expect from like a boozy niche, but it's not cheap smelling either. It's kind of like it's 35 quid. It hits that middle price point, and I think it's it's fine. So next is 603. Now leave it till the end on a good note, right? I really like this, and I'll say straight away now, yeah, I'd buy this. So Queer Encens Tonka, so leather incense tonka. Now this is part of their Privé collection. So these are a bit more expensive. I think they're about €10 more expensive than the others. There's 3 in the line, I think. And that saffron one that I was saying earlier, the saffron nude one that I smelled theirs before, that comes from the Privé line, I'm pretty sure as well. So yeah, what does this one smell like? Straight away when you spray it, I feel like, and now this might be psychosomatic, but I feel like you can smell the quality of like the difference in quality to this, like for this like Privé line in comparison to the other two. I feel like it's a step up. It's like thicker, richer, and it's what you expect from a niche fragrance a bit more. It's got a bit more sort of depth to each sort of note. Now it's not a big leather scent. Leather is definitely there, but it's not big. Especially if you've watched this channel, and some of the leather scents on this channel, a pretty forefront whomp in your face, like leather. This one's not so much. It's way dialed back. And I would say even more so than things like Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford. It's even a step back from them, so it's not anywhere near the likes of things like Francesca Bianchi and, those sorts of fragrances. And then you've got that kind of, Tom Ford Tuscan Leather, where the leather's very forefront in that, but it's not aggressive, it's not violent, or anything like that. This is then one step down from that. It's a very subtle, soft leather, very clean, nothing barnyard about it at all, nothing animalic about it at all. But it's not bad, it's nice. And then for me, it's all about like a sort of fruity, sweet incense in that center. There's probably, I would say, like some sort of flowers going on in there. In fact, let me check up, because I don't know if there's like a longer note list for this. So the note listing, like the full note listing, if you like, for this, is violet leaf, nutmeg, lemon, incense, cypress and sage, tonka absolute, leather and styrax. So honestly, I'm not sure where the sweetness is coming from. I guess it could be like maybe the violet leaf and the lemon, perhaps. But I wouldn't say there's like a big citrus in that top, to be honest. And the violet leaf is more of a green scent usually. So I'm not sure, but there's a sweetness coming from this. Of course you've got that tonka, but it's not the tonka. To me, it smells like there's some sort of like floral in there or something. Some quite subtle floral, something like a ylang ylang or something like that. It's got that kind of waxy quality of an ylang ylang or something like that. But it's quite subdued, and it's below the incense. But it blends well with the incense to give it a sort of slight sweetness. And then, below that you've got, I would say, like the styrax and the tonka. Styrax being that kind of resinous kind of feel to it, and the tonka just giving it like a very dusty sweetness. And it's definitely got that dusty dusty tonky quality. It's definitely got that dusty tonka quality to it. I like this very much, and this is the one that I've worn the most of, and I have worn a fair bit of it actually. I've worn it, when I got it, I wore it like 4 or 5 days in a row, because I was like, yeah, okay, I like this, and I can, get behind this for sure. So I wore it quite a bit. I do like it. It's nice. It feels to me almost like, so I would put it in the ballpark of Tuscan leather, things like that. But I would say it's just a little bit more edgy than Tuscan leather. It's almost like Tuscan leather's like edgier older brother. Instead of being that kind of like clean, sort of like polished leather and sort of raspberry vibe that Tuscan leather's got, with that very slight ash to it, that very slight kind of smokiness to it. This is like, it sort of gets a bit more edgy with that incense to me. It feels like it's a bit more, and when I say that edgy, like, bear in mind I'm still putting this far below things like Beaufort or Francesca Bianchi or anything like that. But it's just slightly edgier version of Tuscan leather. It's got that same ballpark sort of figure. I would say to someone, if you like Tuscan leather, this is worth checking out probably. I think you'd probably enjoy it. And I do enjoy it. It is nice. It is nice. I would, for me, I like my leathers a bit more gruff and a bit more like animalic and a little bit more offensive. This is quite, I feel like it's a little bit polished and clean. But there's plenty of people out there that are going to like that. And it doesn't turn me off. I do still very much enjoy it. But yeah, if I was, if this was up to me, I'd make the leather much gruffer, much more rough, much more. And I think if that's what you're looking for in your leathers, you're probably not going to enjoy this. If you don't like Tuscan leather, you're not going to enjoy this. If you think that the leather in Tuscan leather is a bit too weak and a bit too wet, you're going to think exactly the same about this. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's nice. I think that's the best description. I think I'm going to end there, because I'm just going to be going around in circles. The best description for it for me is that it's like this edgier brother of Tuscan leather. It's very much incense. So, yeah. What have we learned? Bon Parfumeur. They've got balls sending me fragrances, to be fair. 501. Absolutely not a fan. You could be. I doubt it. Honestly, not, like I say, I don't think it's a bad fragrance per se. I just don't think it interests people who are into things that are a bit different. This is very like one-dimensional, very run-of-the-mill. I just wouldn't get too excited about it. On the other side of things, we got 902 and 603. Worthwhile checking out. I would sample both of these if you can. And I would say 603 in particular, you'll probably find it quite decent. I think worst case you're going to go like meh, but decent. And 902, I think, I actually feel like 902 is quite unique. With that light blonde tobacco and that Armagnac, I feel like it's a unique fragrance. So you got to give it credit for that, really. But yeah, no, 902, 603, I do rate. I do think they're good. I think 603 is better than 902, but that's really my taste, I guess. If 603 was a bit stronger and lasted longer, I think it might actually top as my favourite. But for me, it dials back and gets a little bit too close, a little bit too quick. But yeah, that's my impression of Bon Parfumeur. What do I think overall? I think interesting house. That say the ones I know of them now are obviously these three, and I believe it's 901, which again I think is decent. It says to me that they're probably worth checking out, and like I say, at the prices, I think they're good prices. I'll check out more of theirs. I know Bloom in London, if you're based in the UK and you're down south. Bloom does stock them, so you can check them out for free there. Obviously, go and give them a sniff. If not, I would say, see what's on there. See if at the moment, say with that I think that they gave me a code, so I'll stick it up on the screen again. Yeah, check it out if you want. Otherwise, you know, if you don't. Yeah, it's not, you know, it's all just perfume, innit? Really? So, you know, if you don't want to check it out, you're not going to die. It's not the end of the world. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you're well. I'll be back more over Christmas. I've got the new year coming up, so that's gonna, you know, I guess that'll be fun, because I plan to do another kind of video of like my top kind of buys of this year, which has probably been less than normal actually, but because, you know, I've tried to kind of dial my buying back over the last few months. So yeah, anyway, enough waffle. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you all really soon. Cheers.